I call upon Cllr Robert Alden to move the second amendment.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I rise to move our amendment to the motion put forward by the Labour Group. Sadly, today they have missed an opportunity to put forward a balanced motion that set out an accurate picture of where the Council sits now and in the years going forward. The motion sadly includes some double counting of savings, providing a misleading estimate where the current savings are needed, so we've had to remove the first bullet point of their motion in our amendment. We've replaced this with a bullet point highlighting the level of grant funding received according to the budget book. Shortly, Cllr Mackey will cover some of the additional grants on top of this the Council has received. At this point, however, we should note the Council's overall grant budget was reduced by £108 million this year compared to last. Of that £108 million, £85 million has not been taken from Birmingham, but rather given directly to Birmingham Academy schools. This means that the total actually taken away from last year's total was £23 million out of a net £3.2 billion budget. The second bullet point neglected to mention that the Labour Party also claim they wish to remove the deficit and have a surplus in the next Parliament, while containing a number of hypothetical assumptions on what that could mean for budgets, so we had to remove that point. The third point attacks the ring-fencing of education and NHS spending, something I'm absolutely astounded to see from the Labour side of this chamber. We on this side could never support that kind of slashing and burning of the NHS budget that Labour have done in Wales, hurting people so badly. However, today, the 3rd of February, will be remembered as the day Labour in Birmingham announced they also wish to see NHS spending in this city slashed. That is why we had no choice but to remove the bullet point that said that as well. We must, as a council, show our support for the NHS and for ring-fencing its budget. The fourth and fifth points are simply incorrect statements by the Leader of the Council, trying to imply some kind of malicious attack on one section of society that is simply not true. While the final bullet point is taken out of context, so it could also not remain. We've been able to retain the last paragraph with slight amendment, as I think we can all agree we wish to see Birmingham have more funding in the years ahead. But that is the key point we need to get across, because merely changing the way the local government finance settlement works nationally doesn't in itself mean Birmingham gets more money. Now let us turn to why this motion from the ruling administration is so disingenuous. Labour would like to have you believe that everything will be different under them. They tried this with the City Council in the run-up to 2012. Labour claimed the Conservative Lib Dem partnership had hurt frontline services. Yet since taking control, what has Labour done to this city? We have seen libraries and swimming pools threatened with closure, money for communities cut and cut again, street cleaning slashed, vulnerable site services like CAB pushed to the edge of extinction, charges for waste collection introduced, rewards for recycling scrapped, services centralised, independent reviews and commissioners, not once, not twice, but 3 times, heaping shame on this city. A council whose reputation has been dragged through the mud in much the same style as it was the last time the Labour Party ran our great city. Locally, the Labour Party are trying to convince voters that a Labour government will be different. Yet this is not the picture that the Labour Party nationally is saying. This is why we have felt it necessary to remind members in this chamber just what the Labour Party nationally has committed to. So you will see from our second bullet point, we have highlighted what Ed Balls has committed every single member on the other side of the chamber to. He said that under Labour there would be no change in budget reductions given to local authorities. Indeed, much as Sir Bob Kerslake told the Council in his report, Ed Balls is clear. The City Council could save more money by working with Labour councillors, by sharing resources and by making further efficiencies. Lord Mayor, even their own shadow chancellor thinks the city could find more efficiencies. Much like the council constitution, it appears everyone is telling the council that Sir Albert has it wrong and it can be different, but he's simply not listening. Lord Mayor, we'll hear much in the coming weeks from the ruling administration trying to make the debate about what size the state is, happily ignoring that the debate at the budget meeting next month is not about how much money Birmingham gets. That will already have been decided. But rather it's about what the council chooses to do with the resources it has, about what this council's priorities will be with the resources it has. If the administration wish to have a debate about the size of the state, then first you have to realise it's about the size of the state the country can afford. Across the Midlands, we have seen what Labour do with funding. The Police Commissioner's Office in the West Midlands has prioritised doing up posh city centre offices instead of moving out to a suburban location like they did in Manchester to save money, in effect, therefore, having to close front desks to fund his wallpapering. The Council is happy closing services like youth work or advice services, but is leaving Cabinet Office functions untouched. The Executive is happy to complain to this Chamber about unfair settlements, yet refuses or marginalises cross-party help. Sir Albert today stood up for at least the fifth time in the last year and a half and blamed the Conservative government, using hypothetical assumptions on what may or may not happen with local government finance in the future. We've heard from a range of people so far already about the fact that many of those assumptions are actually going to be happening if Ed Balls ends up as Chancellor after May. Sir Albert has raised that he's concerned about the impact of spending on our country's deficit. He didn't think that was an issue. He only thought the Conservatives were concerned about the deficit. This is the problem. When you look at what you want as a society from the state, you have to be able to afford it, because otherwise all you do is have something for yourself which your children would not be able to have because they're paying the debt that you leave behind for them. That is immoral. No parent in this room would leave a debt for their child to pay. That is what is being suggested should happen to the country. I welcome Councillor Ian Ward's comments on our Team Birmingham campaign versus Team Westminster, and I really hope the Labour Party can finally get behind this idea, because what we could have had today was a very simple motion proposed by the Labour Party, jointly seconded by the Lib Dems and the Conservatives, saying that we think Birmingham should have more money. That would have been a very simple cross-party thing. We could all signed up to that. But instead, they didn't actually want to ask for more funding, as we saw in the written questions. Cabinet Member for Education hadn't actually asked for more funding herself. What they'd like to do is come into the Chamber and complain about the situation, but not actually do any of that cross-party action to deal with it going forward. So, Lord Mayor, our amendment lays out the facts in front of us, leaves two simple recommendations for the Chamber to rally behind: more money for Birmingham and a review to find further efficiency savings that even the Labour Party admit exist. I ask the Chamber to support this amendment. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Alden.